Today's webinar again is about this. Today's webinar is about the State Small Business Credit Initiative Program in the U.S. Virgin Islands, or the SSBCI program for short. It's indeed a pleasure for us to be here at the VIEDA to host this webinar about this guaranteed loan program. We encourage you to hold all your questions until the end of this presentation. We also encourage you to utilize the chat to post your questions. We will address the questions as best as we can. If your question is not answered, you can send an email with your question to info@usvieda.org. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce our Assistant Chief Executive Officer of the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, Mr. Dwayne A. Benjamin, who will be providing you with introductory remarks for this webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand on the VI Economic Development Authority's website at www.usvieda.org/webinars and on our Facebook page. And now, without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Wayne A. Benjamin. Mr. Benjamin, the virtual presentation floor is now yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. George, for your opening comments. And I thank all of you and welcome all of you to the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, SSBCI webinar, State Small Business Credit Initiative webinar. As you know, the history of this program goes back some 15 years. The Virgin Islands and the territory of the Virgin Islands was a recipient of a grant under the Obama administration to assist small businesses and startups with financial access to capital under SSBCI 1.0. During that time, we were the recipient of maybe some $13 million, which was used to assist within the territory. That first iteration was performed so well that the Virgin Islands was awarded another $57.8 million in SSBCI 2.0, which we are now administering. The purpose and objective of this webinar is to provide all of you joining us on this call this morning with an opportunity to learn about the programs, the services, and products that we have that might be of assistance to you, to your venture, to your business. I ask that you take good notes, ask questions to the teams of professionals that are here on the call this morning, that we may be able to direct you to the right product that best fits your business model. There are 4 specific programs that we'll be talking about this morning. The team will explain each of those to you. We hope that they fit the format of all of your existing opportunities, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I think the Virgin Islands is well positioned to maximize on these programs that currently exist. And I just encourage all of you, for any questions that you may have that is not posted, that you utilize the addresses there for particular questions or concerns that you may have, and our team of professionals will be very happy to respond to your inquiries. But before I turn the meeting over to the moderators and the program directors, I'd like to introduce our team of professionals that's on this call this morning. Joining the call is our CFO, Kelly Thompson-Webb. Also on the call is from our accounting and division is Ms. Jana Kami. She's an accountant too. You heard from Ms. Simley George, that's part of our marketing team that will serve as moderator. Also from the Economic Development Bank, that is primarily monitoring and running this program, is Ms. Kenisha Gums, the Loan Collections Officer. We have Mr. David Stevenson, a Senior Loan Officer. You have Ms. Joanne Williams, a Loan Assistant. You have Ms. Sophia Farley, another Loan Assistant on the island of St. Croix. They are managed by the Director of the EDB, Ms. Monique Samuels, and Ms. Charmaine Brooks, that's the Managing Director of this program. Also joining us online, we have Ms. Lynette Lindesey, Assistant to the CEO. We have Ms. Selena Morris, who is a Director of Marketing. Also on the call is Ms. Yolanda Bryan, who is a Ms. Do-It-All within our agency. Who else do we have on the call that I'm looking at here? Also on the call, we have Mr. Jalen Hodge that I can see. He's a GBI Fellows assigned to the EDA. And I think that might be it that's joining us on the call this morning. Again, as I indicated, please be open, take as much information as you can. We will direct your inquiries if it's of a personal nature specific to your program, and we'll try to address that as soon as we possibly can. Again, thank you all for joining us, and I hope that you find this engagement rewarding and fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. And now I'll introduce to you our presenter, Ms. Charmaine Brooks, who is the Managing Director of the State Small Business Credit Initiative here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Ms. Brooks?
Sure. Good morning to everyone. I am Charmaine Brooks. I am the Director of the State Small Business Credit Initiative Program. Thank you for joining us. Now, before I begin the presentation, I'm hearing the feedback. Before I begin the presentation, I'm going to ask 3 questions, not for you to respond, but for you to keep in mind throughout the presentation. So here are the questions. Are you considering approaching your bank for a business loan? Have you ever been declined by your bank or a financial institution for a business loan because you did not have sufficient collateral? Have you ever been declined for a business loan because your business was newly formed with no track record or history of operations? Please keep these questions in mind as we go through the presentation. So, slide 2. So what is the State Small Business Credit Initiative 2.0 program? You've heard from our ACEO, Benjamin. He gave you a brief history of the creation. I will just regurgitate a bit of what he said and provide you with some additional information. So the State Small Business Credit Initiative, it is a federal loan guarantee program. It's a federal loan guarantee program. It is not a grant. It was created in 2010 under the Small Business Jobs Act as a result of the recession. And as Mr. Benjamin mentioned, the purpose was, and it still is today, to help small businesses gain access to the capital they need for business growth, which, as you know, ultimately spurs economic activity through job creation and retention. Now, at that time in 2010, the Virgin Islands was awarded and was expended $13.1 million. These funds were administered by the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, which I will use the acronym VIEDA going forward, and the Economic Development Bank, and I'll refer to the Economic Development Bank as EDB going forward. So that was then in 2010. So fast forward to 2021-22, the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA as it's called, reauthorized and expanded the SSBCI program as a result of the economic impact after the COVID-19 pandemic. And in 2023, the USVI was awarded $57.8 million. And the VIEDA EDB was again designated to administer the programs under the SSBCI. Now, the award, it's a 10-year initiative. The SSBCI, it's a 10-year initiative with the funds being distributed in 3 tranches. So, you know, yes, 57.8 was awarded, but it will be distributed in 3 tranches, and we've received the first tranche of $18.4 million. And we must expend 80% of the first tranche before we can request the second tranche. So I spoke about 4 programs. So there are 4 programs under the SSBCI. And these programs are designed to provide guarantee support to lenders. So it's a direct communication via EDA, EDB with the lender. And, you know, I'll give you further information on that going forward during the presentation. But the programs are designed to provide guarantee support to lenders and bonding companies. And again, it is to encourage lending to small businesses, and not just to encourage, but to enhance their chances of obtaining financing or gaining the access to the capital they need. So the 4 programs, they are the Collateral Support Program, the Loan Participation Program, the Loan Guarantee Program, and the 4th one is the Payment Surety and Performance Bond Program that's specifically for contractors. So benefits to the lender, benefits to the lender. So here we have why would a lender participate in the SSBCI program? So the program enhances the lender's credit recommendations and chances of obtaining approval. What do I mean when I say that? So the loan officer that is reviewing your request for financing, once the SSBCI guarantee, if he or she writes that the SSBCI guarantee will be used to mitigate, you know, what the bank perceives as a risk, whether it's a collateral shortfall or something like that. Once the lender writes that in, you know, their credit memorandum, that increases the chances of an approval. And I'll explain as we go along as to why and how it increases the chances of approval. The next one, it assists in meeting the lender's cash deposits and also the loan goals. Cash deposits, because the guarantee, the SSBCI guarantee, is in the form of cash in the bank. And of course, the lender's loan goals. You may or may not know, but there are goals relating to loans and cash deposits. Lenders have these goals to meet. Also, to the lender, it will be viewed as providing more tangible collateral through the availability of the program. So if while your request is being evaluated, you know, there's a shortfall or there is a concern, and I'll explain concerns as we go along. By having the SSBCI guarantee to support your request, improves the collateral position and also improves your chances of getting a loan approval from the bank. Lender's risk is minimized as exposure is shared. What does that mean? Basically, with cash in the bank, the lender's risk is minimized. And of course, with the cash in the bank now, it's shared, any risk will be shared between the lender and the VIEDA in the form, as we will have provided the guarantee. Now, the Community Reinvestment Act's considerations. Banks are required to support the CRA considerations. And just so you know, the CRA, it was formed in 1977. It's basically, it's a federal law that's designed to encourage commercial lenders to lend, to help meet the needs of borrowers in all segments of the community. You know, and it's basically geared to reduce any discriminatory credit practices. What's the other one? SSBCI may support financing for not-for-profit businesses that use funds for business purposes. Yes, the SSBCI guarantee funds can be used to support a request from a nonprofit business once it is for business purpose. The SSBCI funded programs are easy to use. As we go through the presentation, you will see how very easy and low documentation and the type of low documentation that's required. And last, but definitely not least, very importantly, at the end of the day for the lender, it increases the lender's visibility in the community while supporting the territory's economic objectives. Benefits to the borrower. First of all, one key benefit is your awareness of the program and how it may assist you, the borrower, with your financial needs. It also allows for, once you are aware of the program, it allows for more robust and meaningful discussions with your lender, your consultant, your accountant, your legal person. And it also increases your potential for loan approval. Of course, as well, you know, once the loan is approved, you will be a contributor to the territory's economic development objectives. Cash, you continue to pay taxes, maybe at this point, increase taxes due to, you know, the growth in your business operations. You'll be able to create jobs, add, you know, additional jobs to your pool. And it increases the overall economic activities in the territory. And of course, if you're not nonprofit, you can also benefit from the program, and the program is easy to use. So you will find some of the benefits overlap, but the SSBCI, it is geared towards enhancing the small business owners' chances of gaining access to capital through their lenders. So we talked about the 4 programs earlier on, and I will delve, provide more information on them now. Next slide. I'll begin with the Collateral Support Program. This program is designed to provide support if there is a shortfall in collateral when your loan application to the bank is being analyzed. It supplies, cash is pledged as collateral, and the maximum under this program is up to 50% of the lender's loan, not to exceed $500,000. So let me give you an example. So assuming your request is for $100,000 to the bank, you've submitted your package, your application, your business plan, if one is required, all of your supporting documents, your financials, your projections, all of your supporting documents. And the loan officer, while reviewing your request, realizes that you're meeting all of the lender's requirements. You're meeting all of the lender's requirements. And I repeated that because you must meet the policies and the guidelines set forth by the bank. And I'll continue to explain how we can assist if some of those areas are not met as we go through the programs. So under the Collateral Support Program, if there is a shortfall in collateral, assuming all of the other lending parameters are met, if there's a shortfall in collateral, the VIEDA under the SSBCI program can provide up to 50% of the lender's loan, not to exceed $500,000. So let's go back to the example. $100,000 request. And it was determined by the lender that there is a shortfall in collateral. And, let's just say there is a $20,000 shortfall in collateral after they've done their calculations. And the lender will approach us for the guarantee support under the Collateral Support Program. And we can provide, in this instance, if there's a $20,000 shortfall, your request is for $100,000. The program allows for up to 50%, which will be $50,000. Your shortfall is $20,000, but note that we can go up to a max of $50,000 in this case. So your $20,000 could certainly be covered under the SSBCI 2 Collateral Support Program. And of course, then, your loan will be approved because that was the only point of discussion, really. That was the only item that was prohibiting the bank from providing you with an approval. So with that support, in cash in the bank to support your loan, you will receive an approval if that is the scenario. The Loan Participation Program. Under this program, it's basically a purchase transaction that we are focusing on under this program. So what do I mean by that? And before I explain, under this program, At this point in time, we can purchase up to 30% of the lender's loan amount. So your loan is for your request is for $100,000. If, for example, you are new to the bank, and again, keep the questions in mind because, you know, this is how you can have that added information to take to your lender if any of those questions apply to your situation or will apply. So in this case, you're new to the bank. You do not have any track record with the bank. You're a new business owner. You're just starting out the business. You present your package to the bank for a loan of $100,000. Your package, your business plan is viable. It is something the bank wishes to entertain. However, because of that newness, because of that unfamiliarity, the bank can reach out to us to participate in the transaction. Under this program, we can purchase up to 30% of the loan. So in the $100,000 loan request scenario, we can purchase up to $30,000, and purchase will be using the SSBCI guarantee funds. And again, the lender's risk, we are sharing the risk here with the lender, because at this point in time, the lender's risk will now be based on 70,000 versus 100,000. However, you as the borrower will pay the bank the monthly payments based on a $100,000 loan, because that is the amount you received. You will pay the bank based on the $100,000 loan, and the bank will prorate the payments. So in this instance, 70% of the payment will go to the bank and 30% will be submitted to the VIEDA EDB. And these funds, you know, just so that you are aware, these funds will be recycled to help another business in need. Next slide. The other loan program is called the Loan Guarantee Program. This comes. Next slide, please. The Loan Guarantee Program. It is similar to the Loan Participation Program in that it provides guarantee support for any of the lender's concerns that's not related to collateral. And again, if you're a new business or the bank is unfamiliar with your operations, it relates this loan guarantee program can be used to encourage the bank to lend to you. Again, this is assuming you have met the bank's criteria, except that you're new, no prior history with the bank, or no prior historic information because you are a new business. Now, this program, the guarantee level is up to 80% of the financing amount. So in the $100,000 loan request scenario, we can provide the lender with up to 80% or $80,000. Can you go back, please? Up to $80,000 in SSBCI loan guarantee support. The last program, the Payment Performance and Surety Bond Program. This is specifically for contractors. And I will explain the scenario. Let's say the contractor has secured a contract for $1 million. And the bonding requirement is for 10% of the $1 million. So 10% of 1 million, that's $100,000. Under the SSBCI guarantee program, we can provide guarantee support of up to 80% of that 10%. So that $100,000 requirement, collateral security requirement, that is that the contractor has to present to the bonding agent or to the bank. If the contractor is short in any area, the SSBCI loan guarantee can support up to 80% of that 10% or $100,000, so up to $80,000. So if the contractor has, for example, just $60,000 of that $100,000 requirement, the SSBCI guarantee can provide that additional $40,000 in support. Two things. All other bonding requirements must be met if it's through a bank. All of the criteria relating to the bonding or the loan facility must be met, except that the contractor, there's a gap, there's a shortfall, and the contractor cannot come up with that $100,000. And secondly, I would like to point out that it's a performance bond only. It is not a payment bond. It is not a guarantee against, the contractors or payments, contractors' payments. It is a performance bond. It is guaranteeing the performance. And of course, the bonding agent and or the bank will conduct its due diligence. And if there's a shortfall on the part of the contractor in terms of fulfilling that $100,000 collateral security requirement, we can provide that support up to 80% of that 10%. Okay, so next slide. What borrowers are eligible? Provided, all the program requirements are satisfied. Eligible borrowers are companies that have fewer than 500 employees, corporations, partnerships, LLCs, sole proprietors, contractors, not-for-profit, if it's for business purpose only. And let me explain that now. So, and let me go through consumer marketed cooperatives, faith-based organizations, and of course, tribal enterprises. That does not that last one is not necessarily applicable to us here, but it falls under the scope of the program. Go back up to the nonprofit. If, for example, the nonprofit is a church, and the church is requesting monies from a bank to build a sanctuary, that is not eligible. That's not allowable. If the church office requires new computers, for example, that's an eligible business purpose. I just wanted to make that distinction. Next slide, please. So eligible business purposes. Some of them are And of course, this is not an exhaustive list. Acquire and install fixed assets, to acquire inventory, to acquire land, to construct new buildings, to convert, expand, or renovate buildings. And let me just add a little bit to the construction of a new business. The SSBCI guarantee can be used to construct a new building, and this is a commercial building. It is not a building, a residential building, you know, for houses or anything. This is strictly commercial, a commercial building for commercial activities. To construct the new building, the owner must occupy 60% of that building in order for the SSBCI guarantee to be eligible for that construction project. Convert, expand, or renovate buildings. So you as the business owner, you already have own this building, and you know, you want to convert, expand, or renovate the building. You must occupy at least 51% of the space in order for the SSBCI guarantee to be eligible to support your loan request with the lender. Franchise fees, eligible, leasehold improvements, purchase of any tangible or intangible assets except goodwill. Other intangible assets, you know, include copyrights, patents, trademarks, those are allowable. Purchase an existing building, purchase supplies and raw material, refinance an outstanding debt, and we will talk about that. We'll expound on that a little later. Startup costs and working capital. So examples of ineligible business purposes: to acquire or hold passive investments in real estate. So if you're going to become involved in a real estate transaction, whether it's development or purchase, and you're acting as an investor only, and you're not going to be involved in the day-to-day activities, etc., your request will be ineligible under the SSBCI guidelines. Purchase of securities or finance speculative activities. If you know you're requesting financing to purchase stock, bonds, etc., that's ineligible. Finance businesses that earn more than half of its revenue from lending activities. Finance businesses that engage in pyramid sales. Finance businesses that engage in illegal activity. Finance gambling enterprises. I will say to that, if, for example, you're a small business owner and you have some of those, video lottery machines in your establishment. With this section, if the revenues from the machines exceed 30,000 or 30,000 or more, if the revenues make up 30,000 or more of your total business operations, the transaction will be ineligible. SSBCI cannot support this transaction. To finance dividend or other distributions, ineligible. Lobbying activities, ineligible. to repay delinquent federal or jurisdiction income taxes unless the borrower has a payment plan in place with the relevant taxing authority. Here, we know it's with IRB. Repay taxes held in trust or escrow, ineligible. Reimburse funds owed to the owner, that's ineligible. At times, owners will inject funds into their business operations and then request a payout, through financing, through the from a bank. The bank cannot approach us to provide the SSBCI loan guarantee support to this transaction because it does not allow the program does not allow the guarantee for this purpose. So next slide speaks about the program size, requirements, interest rates, and fees. Size. So the lender's loan can go up to $20 million. The minimum is, again, whatever the lender is willing to review your request. So if your request to the lender is for $5,000 and the lender accepts your request, we will look at that, and the maximum is up to $20 million. And the SSBCI support, as we have gone through the programs, of up to 80%, depending on each program requirement, but not to exceed an average of $5 million within each program portfolio. So what does that mean? While the lender can lend up to $20 million, it is a requirement of us. It is a U.S. Department of the Treasury, and that's the institution that administers the overall $10 billion that was passed by Congress under the ARPA. The requirements under this size category are as follows. So within each portfolio, each loan program portfolio, and remember we mentioned that there are 4 programs. So within each loan program portfolio, and I'll take one, for example, I'll just use one program, but the same applies to all programs. So let's take the loan guarantee program, for example, where we can go up to 80% of the lender's loan. If, for example, the VIEDA has submitted a loan guarantee for Bank A's loan to its client for $100,000, to Bank B, B's loan for $200,000 to its client, Bank C's loan for $300,000 to its client, and then Bank D comes to us with a loan of $20 million and is seeking our guarantee of up to 80%. When you add Bank A, B, C, and D's requirement, loan amounts, 100, 200, 300, plus this $20 million request, and you divide that by 4, you will realize that the average within the loan guarantee portfolio will exceed $5 million. So in our discussions with Bank D, we will have to explain to Bank D, because of the compliance requirements that we have to adhere to, we cannot provide the guarantee based on a $20 million transaction, but we can provide the guarantee on maybe the $19.4 million transaction. So it's an internal calculation that we must conduct before we can determine the level of guarantee. The interest rate cap. The interest rate cap for each loan at the time of obligation and throughout the term of the loan may not exceed the National Credit Union Administration's interest rate ceiling for loans. Now, that is the standard, the benchmark that U.S. Department of Treasury is using, the NCUA. And right now, or at least as of last month, the interest rate was currently 18%. And of course, the banks here, they don't charge 18%. Banks' interest rates are usually tied to prime plus the spread. And I believe prime right now is 8.25%, plus the spread. So, but the policy, the guidelines allows for a rate not to exceed 18%. In terms of fees, the lender upfront fees may not exceed 3% to its borrower. So the lender cannot, and that does not include fees that you will pay, if, for example, it's real estate for title and so on. This relates to the commitment fee, the bank's commitment fee. And also for VIEDA, may charge a fee of up to 3% annually to the lender. So there is a cap on fees. Next slide. So borrower restrictions. Each lender must obtain an assurance from the borrower affirming that the borrower is not an executive officer, director, or principal shareholder of the lender, a member of the immediate family of an executive officer, director, or principal shareholder of the lender, a related interest or immediate family of such an executive officer, director, or principal shareholder of the lender, and that no principal of the borrowing entity has been convicted of a sex offense. So, the owners of the business cannot be related to the lender in these ways, and the owners / principals cannot, if they have been convicted of a sex offense, the transaction will not be eligible. Lender assurances, refinancing, and new extensions of credit. Refinancing of loan from another lender. So you the borrower, have an existing loan with Bank A, and just to bring to your attention, all of the banks in the territory, the 5 banks, they have committed to partnering with us, and the 2 or 3, should say, active banks in terms of inquiries, requests, and actual guarantees have provided to these banks. There are Merchants Commercial Bank, First Bank, and Banco Popular, Oriental Bank, and Bank of St. Croix. They have also committed to partnering with us on this transaction. So refinancing of loan from another lender. So you, the borrower, have an existing loan with Bank A. And you have determined that, for whatever reason, that you are going to refinance, or you want to refinance that existing loan, and you decide to go to Bank B, to conduct that transaction. That is allowable. However, Bank B must drill down as to the original purpose of that loan with Bank A to ensure that it was not for a purpose that's ineligible under the program. So, for example, if your loan with Bank A was initially to invest, in a passive real estate transaction, or to pay delinquent taxes, the Bank B will not receive the SSBCI guarantee for that portion. However, if Bank B wants to provide you with financing, say for equipment, because you could have wanted to refinance plus purchase new equipment, Bank B can approach the VIEDA EDB for guarantee support, SSBCI guarantee, in support of that particular loan to purchase the equipment. So it cannot be the one loan with two purposes. Bank B will have to have two separate loans. One for the refinancing, which the SSBCI guarantee cannot be applied. And the second loan for the equipment, should you meet the bank's criteria and there is a need to reach out, but there is a need to reach out for our guarantee, the guarantee support can be provided on that particular loan. So it must be two separate loans. New extensions of credit by existing lenders. So if you, the borrower, already has a loan with Bank A, and the loan is coming up, it's going to be matured soon, and you're staying with Bank A to refinance at maturity, the SSBCI loan guarantee will be allowable if the amount of the new financing is at least 150% of the outstanding amount of the loan or other debt. So if at maturity, your loan was $100,000, and of course, it was for an eligible purpose, and you're asking for additional monies, let's say $75,000. So the total refinancing will be for 175. That will be eligible because it must be at least 150%, which would be 150,000. But your request is for 175, so it falls within the guidelines, that particular guideline. It also states that the new credit is based on a new underwriting of the small business's ability to repay the loan and a new approval by the lender. So it must be a new transaction, which will include the refinance of the matured debt. And the prior loan or other debt has been paid, so that's the loan that's matured. It has been paid as agreed, and the borrower was not in default of any financial covenants under the loan or debt for at least the previous 36 months or since origination if the term of the loan was shorter than 36 months. And the proceeds of the transactions are not to use to finance dividend or other distributions to the owner. Next slide. Lender assurance is continued. So the lender must provide assurance affirming the following. The SSBCI supported loan is not being made in order to place under the protection of the approved program prior debt that is not covered under the approved program and that is or was owed by the borrower to the financial institution or to an affiliate of the financial institution. That's a mouthful, but what it's basically saying is you cannot request the guarantee or the lender will be providing the assurance that the prior debt, say in the case of a refinance, again, it was in good standing, and you're not trying to mitigate your risk by requesting the guarantee to shore up the collateral, for example. The lender must also provide the assurance that it complies with all of the SSBCI restrictions as it relates to refinancing, extensions of credit, which we spoke about on the slide before. And the last bullet point, no principal of the financial institution lender. The lender must provide the assurance that no principal has been convicted of a sex offense. So let's talk about the process. The communication as it relates to the issuance of the guarantee, it begins with the borrower submitting its loan request package to the lender, not to the VIEDA EDB. No. The conversation, the discussions, the communication as it relates to the SSBCI guarantee being used to support you, the borrower's transaction, will be between the lender and VIEDA, not the borrower. However, the borrower can always call us, and we have our contact information at the end, can always call us for information, you know, if they need clarification on something in terms of how the program works. But it's an arm's length transaction. The communication is between the VIEDA. Once a transaction has been initiated by the borrower through the lender, the communication on that particular transaction will be between the VIEDA and the lender. So the borrower submits its package, its loan request package, to the lender. The lender, will review and will initiate a discussion with us as to the eligibility of the transaction. While the lender continues, with the adjudication process, we, the VIEDA, submits what is referred to as our release authorization form to the lender, because now we have been made aware that the lender will be approaching us for guarantee under the SSBCI program. So we will provide the lender with our release authorization form. And that form basically gives the VIEDA, EDB, the authority to conduct background checks on the business and its principals. Separate forms must be completed, one on behalf of the entity, and then for each principal of the business. So if the business has one owner, there will be 2 forms. If the business has 5 owners, there will be 6 forms to be completed and notarized. And upon receipt, the VIEDA, EDB, will conduct its background checks. And, we have to do this. It's part of our due diligence because, we need to know that the principals have not been convicted of a sex offense and outstanding taxes, etc. As it relates to outstanding taxes, if you, the borrower, requests a loan from your lender, and you do have outstanding taxes, the transaction will be eligible if there is proof that there is a payment plan in place and for at least 6 months, and that your payments have been made as agreed and that the payments are current. So there must be that 6-month history. So we provide the lender with the release authorization forms. The lender will in turn send those forms to you, or it's actually one form and copies, you can make copies. We'll send the form to you to be filled out accordingly. The lender, and then you will complete the forms. The forms must be notarized, and you will return those forms to your lender, and your lender will submit them to us, and we'll begin our background checks. On average, a background check takes, on average, maybe 7 to 10 business days, depending on the workload, within our legal team. So that's, to get the project, to get the transaction moving. In the meantime, the lender will submit its credit memorandum they will present that to us along with any supporting documents that they have. Their credit memorandum, it does not have to be approved. We can work with a draft in the meantime, just so to ensure, timeliness, because we know that time is of the essence with the borrower in terms of the need for the funds as soon as possible. So, the lender will submit its credit memorandum with the supporting documents, your financials, your historic financials, your projections, personal financial information, the information that the lender needs. We do not ask for any information except any additional information, except you will see as it relates to the certifications, there were just 2 other documents that we asked for outside of SSBCI. So whatever it is that the lender uses to prepare their credit memorandum for approval is what we accept and what we review. And we will review them, we will review the information, and we prepare summaries to present to our board if the SSBCI request exceeds $100,000, and for our internal credit committee, if the SSBCI request is for $100,000 or below. As it relates to the turnaround time, we strive to maintain a 7 business day turnaround time, 7 to 10 business day turnaround time, if the request is to be presented to our internal credit committee, and up to 30 days if the request has to be submitted to the board. We say up to 30 days, because, the scheduling of meetings, the completion of the background checks, etc. However, in most instances, we respond to the lender prior to that 30-day requirement. Now, there are exceptions, and just recently, last month, there had to be exceptions because the team, was involved in conferences, meetings, webinars, Treasury, Treasury's meetings, guidance, consultations, etc., where we actually had to be off island. So it's the exception in terms of us not meeting the turnaround time, the time frame that we've set for ourselves. But there are exceptions at times, and we will always let the lender be aware of the reasoning for the delay. Okay. Now, once approved, whether it's via the internal committee or via the board, once approved, a commitment letter, USVIEDA issues a commitment letter to the lender. And basically, the terms and conditions that are outlined in the commitment letter they mirror the terms and conditions of the bank. Included in the commitment letter are the SSBCI certifications and the USVIEDA, certifications and forms. The lender, we're still on the process. The lender will close the transaction, again, with the borrower, because, the communication is between borrower and lender as it relates to the transaction. We'll close the transaction with the borrower. And the lender will provide us with copies of all of the closing documents that they've required for the file, including their loan application. Now, if the transaction is declined by the EDA, because, for example, the background check showed that a principal was a sex offender, for example, we will issue a decline letter to the lender stating the reason for the decline. Ms. Gums, the slide before that one, please. Primary certifications. So we spoke about the certifications, the mandatory certificate, and all of the certifications here that they're mandatory. This is US Treasury mandatory certifications. And I have listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And to be honest with you, they're about 7 or 8 pages, 9 pages at the max. And I point that out because we mentioned it's a really easy process, both in terms of the process to get the SSBCI guarantee, and also the process as it relates to the documentation. So the certifications, borrower use of proceeds and conflict of interest, it's basically stating that there's no conflict of interest. The sex offender certification said he owns socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. That certification, there's a privacy notice just for you to have. There's nothing you, the borrower, to have. And then there's a demographics form. Next slide, please. VIEDA certifications, once the loan is approved, we will basically provide the agreement for the appropriate loan program. And we cannot commingle programs. We cannot apply 2 programs to the same transaction. And we also cannot use any other federal guarantee in conjunction with another federal guarantee for the same loan purpose. So it's from the VIEDA standpoint, it's the appropriate agreement, and there's a publicity and photo video release form and an environmental questionnaire form to be completed. The closing documents, we spoke about that already, so we can go through that slide. And then for those individuals who are not ready, or who do not have their business package ready to submit to the lender and require assistance to get it to the lender in order to qualify or to see if they qualify for a loan under the SSBCI program. We've been awarded an allocation amount of $521,109 from the U.S. Department of Treasury to provide technical assistance to these types of business owners. And an RFP will be out pretty soon, if it's not already out, in terms of seeking the appropriate contractor to provide legal, accounting, financial, and consulting services to the small businesses. That's it. Our contact information is at the back. Our NIST Center telephone number, 340-714-1700. Our Frederiksted office's telephone number is 340-773-6499. Our website, usvieda.org, info@usvieda.org, SSBCI@usvieda.org, and I am Charmaine Brooks. My email address, sbrooks@usvieda.org, and Monique T. Samuel, the Managing Director of the Economic Development Bank. Her email address is mtsamuel@usvieda.org. At this time, we will entertain any questions you may have. And so I will turn you over to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brooks, for that excellent presentation. I know there's a lot of information that you gave out today. So, but right now we have one question that came in from Ms. Kelsey Fisher. And also for those who have joined in the webinar after we started, we welcome you for joining. Rest assured that this webinar is being recorded. And as we replied to the question earlier during the presentation, Ms. Samuel and I, the webinar is being recorded and it's going to be posted on our website at www.usvieda.org/webinars and on our Facebook page for the VIEDA. Okay, so right now, if you have any questions, we're ready to get those questions relayed to us, and you can let us know exactly what you'd like us to answer. We have a question from Monet Lewis. Is there a listing of financial institutions that are partners for this program?
Yes. Currently, all of the local banks have signed up, given their commitment. First Bank, Merchants Bank, Banco Popular, Oriental Bank, and Bank of St. Croix. The three active banks at this point in time are First Bank, Merchants Bank, and Banco Popular, as it relates to inquiries and actual guarantees being committed and expended.
All right.
And we yes, at this time, that's it.
Okay. We have another question from Ms. Esther David. Is the approval linked to our credit scores?
The approval is linked to the bank's criteria. And so if the bank is requiring credit scores as part of their approval, yes. And normally, if you as the business owner, will be asked to provide your personal guarantee. And once that is the case, the bank will conduct a credit check. At least for the local banks at this point in time, they will conduct a credit check and, continue to evaluate your request, including the information that's presented on your credit report.
Okay. And the next question is from Ulrich S. How is the guarantee limit for startup costs and working capital?
The guarantee limit is based on the program that's designed to best suit your needs. Whether it's the Collateral Support Program can go up to 50% of the lender's loan to you, not to exceed $500,000. The Loan Participation Program and the Loan Guarantee Program can go up to 80% of the lender's loan. Sorry, the loan guarantee program can go up to 80% of the lender's loan to you. The loan participation program, at this time, the purchase, we can purchase up to 30% of the loan. And as it relates to the payment surety and performance bond program, we can provide the guarantee of up to 80% of the 10% collateral requirement by the contractor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brooks. We received a question privately from a person who was just inquiring if it has been asked before and an answer provided. The person asked, is this a loan payback program? And if so, what are the terms?
Yes, it is a loan payback program. I just want to reinforce the program. It is not a grant. It is a federal loan guarantee program whereby the VIEDA will provide guarantee support to the lender to encourage the lender to lend or to approve your request. If there is a shortfall for some reason in your collateral, or if it's a new business, etc. But it is a loan that the lender will give to you that you must repay. The guarantee program is designed to encourage the lender to lend to you in the event, there's a shortfall in collateral and so on.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. We have a question from Susie Sanford. Please describe how SSBCI guarantee compares to the SBA loans in terms of flexibility and interest rates.
Okay, so the SBA, you will find that the SBA and SSBCI policies and guidelines, they're similar. And, I think we augment each other, so to speak. From the SSBCI standpoint, one, we rely strictly on the lender's credit analysis. We do not prepare our, in separate analysis and then have, back and forth discussions with the lender. We rely solely on the lender's credit analysis. That's one. Two, the guarantee is in the form of cash in the bank. So it is easily realizable in the event of default. Three, in terms of interest rates, the interest rates are similar. And in terms of fees, the VIEDA, EDB has the flexibility in terms of the fees from the VIEDA standpoint. And the lender usually works with its borrower as well to minimize the fees. That's a summary, basically.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Casey Bisusu. My apologies if I mispronounce your last name. Could a resident utilize this to buy out stateside partners, this program?
No, the program cannot be used to repay investors.
We have another question from Carol Peters. What technical assistance are you offering small businesses now, and what is the process? For example, assistance with business plans.
At this time, the VIEDA, while we provide guidance on how the business plan, in terms of the contents of a business plan, we do not actually prepare business plans for business owners, not at this point in time. Two things. One, the technical assistance program that was mentioned a few minutes ago. There is a request for proposal that will be distributed soon, requesting a contractor to provide, the consultations, legal, accounting, advice to small business owners. This is to get them bank ready to present their request to the banks for financing, which may include the SSBCI guarantee support. In general, though, outside of that, there is the Small Business Development Center. We partner as well with the Small Business Development Center, and they provided that in-depth technical support at this point in time. And there is also SCORE, a branch of SCORE that provides that type of service.
Okay. We have a question from Jacqueline Penn. Do you have to be enrolled in your program to take part in this initiative?
Only the lenders must be enrolled in the program. Again, this is a transaction that takes place between the VIEDA and the lender. You, the borrower, will present your package to the lender. The lender will review your package. Should there be a need for the SSBCI guarantee to encourage them to lend, to provide you with the financing, the lender will reach out to us. So there's no enrollment on the part of the borrower. There is enrollment on the part of the lender, and the 5 lenders within the territory have committed to the program.
Next question from Marianne Batiste. As a new business owner, is there a time limit to be in business to receive a loan?
It depends on the lender's guidelines, but the SSBCI guarantee allows for new business owners. So if you present your package as a new business owner to your lender, and everything falls, you meet the criteria, the lending criteria, except for the fact that you're a new business and your lender thinks it's a viable business plan, except for the fact that you're a new business, that is when the lender will reach out to us for the guarantee support.
Okay. We have a next question from Britt Haas. Are interest rates set by the bank? And is there any special rate if the loan is guaranteed by the loan guarantee program?
The interest rates are set by the bank.
Okay. Next question from Susie Sanford. Are there a variety of loan products? Do rates and terms mirror mainland product rates and terms?
The bank has the banks have a variety of loan products. So your bank will be able to identify the product that suits your needs. Term loans, lines of credits, working capital loans, lines of credits are used for. So your bank will be able to identify the product that best suits your needs. From our end, in terms of providing guarantee support, there is no limitation.
And another question from her, are there mainland banks lending in USVI using SSBC?
That is being addressed at this time.
Okay. Another question, the person asks and says, I have already been denied by Oriental Bank and have a denial letter in my possession. What will be the next step I should take in acquiring working capital?
That question, if I may,
I recommend that you call the Economic Development Bank. That will be outside of the scope of the State Small Business Credit Initiative Program. I recommend that you call the Economic Development Bank, and they will guide you as to the next steps that you can take. Thank you.
Okay, also part of this question, also does credit score play a part in getting approved by you?
No, again, it's the lender. The lender will determine that. The lender normally will ask you as the business owner to provide your personal guarantee, and the lender will conduct its credit checks on you, the owner or the principal, and the lender will use that during its analysis of your request.
Okay. We have another question. Can the business be sold during the term? And would this loan be transferable to the new owner?
If you decide to sell the business, if the bank is going to assume, or let's put it this way, the bank must conduct its own analysis on the new owner to determine its ability to repay the debt. So if your business currently has an SSBCI guarantee and you are going to sell your business to someone, another business or someone else, the bank has to conduct its due diligence on the purchaser, and the purchaser must qualify on its own. So, but yes, if it's for an eligible purpose, and this is for on the purchaser standpoint, an eligible purpose, and the eligibility, all of the eligibility criteria and the bank's lending policies are met, sure, there is no reason, we can look at providing the guarantee support to the lender on the purchaser's loan, but the lender must confirm or must agree to provide financing to the purchaser, subject to all requirements being met.
And this person also has another question. Also, if my father paid off the mortgage decades ago for this same business, would I personally be considered no history with the lender?
I'm not sure now. Are we talking about a business loan or a mortgage?
Miss Francis, are you still on the line? Would you like to elaborate more on your question? Okay, I guess we can hold that question until she comes back on the line, or to clarify.
yes. That question.
Next question,
Ms.
what
George?
percentage of people are approved?
From the EDA standpoint, since the 2.0 started, we have not declined any request from the lender. And let me be clear, meaning the lender's approval subject to the SSBCI guarantee so far have not been declined. However, if while the lender is reviewing your request and they determine that a decline is necessary, it is not, they will not present it to us, the VIEDA, for guarantee support. So again, the decline will come basically initially from the lender. However, if the lender submits it to us and we conduct our background checks, once it does not come back where, you know, a principal has been convicted of a sex offense, or the business is engaging in illegal activities, all of the ineligible purposes that we listed, you know, there won't be a decline from us. And so far, we have not come across any of that. So far, based on our background checks, satisfactory background checks, the requests from the lenders have been approved.
Okay. Next question from Joanna Garcia. I already started the loan process with the bank. Do I just advise them that I'm participating with the SSBCI program? Will they to the VIEDA? What is my next step if I decided to participate in this?
You will not advise them that you are participating in the program. Only the lender can determine if the lender is going to participate in the program. What you will do is make the lender aware of your knowledge of the program, and that should there be, for example, a shortfall in collateral after the lender have reviewed your request, the lender will reach out to us for the SSBCI guarantee support utilizing the Collateral Support Program, which is one of the 4 programs we mentioned. So it is not that you are engaged in the SSBCI guarantee. You will bring awareness to the lender. For example, if they're conducting the analysis, it's a shortfall, or if you're a new entity, it's for them to consider utilizing the SSBCI support while they are evaluating your request.
Okay. Next question. Is there a deadline to apply or to participate in the SSBCI program?
It is the lender that is participating in the program. The program, it runs for 10 years. 10 years effective, I think it's 2022. That's when the program started. We received the first tranche last year, so 10 years from last year. We've received the first tranche. The first tranche is good for 3 years. We must utilize up to 80% of the first tranche and request the second tranche within that 3-year period. Are there any more questions?
Okay, I'm scrolling through to make sure I don't miss any. It's a question from Maritza Phillips. Is a financial advice program only for individuals eligible for the loan program? Meaning, can anyone get help for the financing needed to go to the bank that is not part of the program yet?
If I
I believe she's referring to the technical assistance program.
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
was. For the technical assistance program that's coming on board soon, that will begin soon. It's geared towards getting small business owners bank ready to present their package to the bank for financing. Primarily using the SSBCI guarantee, but of course, you won't be denied. Even if you do not require the use of the guarantee in order for the bank to consider approving your request. In the meantime, however, there is a Small Business Development Center and there is SCORE.
We got a response from Lydia Francis in reference to that mortgage question. She said it's in reference to the business. I guess the business has a mortgage on it.
The business has a mortgage on it, and what was the rest of the question?
I have to scroll back and get those details, but I'll go through the next question and then get back to you on
Ms.
that.
George, that's not a question for us. I'm typing to her directly in the chat.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
My apologies, Monique. I had to continue to scroll, so sometimes I'm missing your names as to which questions are for SSBCI to be answered. I'm not seeing any more at this time that Monique has identified. Ms. Francis says no mortgage, so we can move on from that. Okay, I don't see anything else in the chat that we need to address, that we can address here on this webinar. Any other remarks, Ms. Brooks, that we need to share before we close?
I would just like to thank the participants in this and the attendees of this webinar. I trust that the information is I trust that the information has proved useful and that your awareness has now been broadened and that you can utilize the knowledge gained to have really healthy discussions with your bank approaching them for financing.
And Ms. Brooks, can you list the banks currently participating in the SSBCI program?
Sure. All of the banks, the 5 banks within the Virgin Islands, First Bank, Merchants Commercial Bank, Banco Popular, Oriental Bank, and Bank of St. Croix. The 3 active banks are Merchants Commercial Bank, First Bank, and Banco Popular.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brooks. And to the questions we haven't gotten to, we'll try to get those questions assembled and see how best we can answer them if it's a question for us to directly answer. If not, we'll just direct you to the particular resource that can possibly answer those questions for you. Thank you all so much for joining today. Ms. Brooks, thank you again for your presentation. And thank you, the Economic Development Bank, for hosting this webinar. And also for the Economic Development Authority team for joining us in your support of this webinar, and our partner EDB under the VIEDA. And also especially thank you also to the audience for joining today and for expressing your interest. We really appreciate all the questions you provided today, and we hope we got to answer as much of the questions we could today during this time. And we hope that you continue to send those questions in to us. You can send them to info@usvieda.org. If you haven't been able to send it in the chat, or just remind us about the question we did not answer or get to, if we can answer that question. Please send up to that email address so we can respond to you. Again, thank you all so much for joining, and have a great week and a great day.
Thank you.